One of the bright spots of this team, especially the run game, has been David Montgomery. And Chris, I don't know if you want to get this video up yet because he did leave yesterday's game a little bit early after that brilliant screen call by Ben Johnson, by the way. Mm-hmm. But he fell on top of himself and damaged his ribs, his rib cartilage. And Dan Campbell had an update on this today.
He's got a little something in there, the cartilage. And so it's, he's probably going to be down for a little bit here. Well, I don't know how long. That'll just be really how long it takes for this to, at his position, that's not an easy thing to deal with. So we'll just take it as it comes. But, I think there's a chance we won't have him for a little bit.
So unfortunately, it does sound like Dave Montgomery might be out for a little bit of time. There's a confirmation on how long that is, but I promised on my Twitter to address this because we talked about the trade deadline that Chris brought up a little bit earlier too. We watched all national television. New York Giants fight for their life.
Yeah.
Fight for their life. But that team, unfortunately, is going nowhere this season. And there's one guy there who they didn't re-sign. It was highly publicized. It's Saquon Barkley. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry to jump right into it like that because obviously I do wish well wishes for Dave Montgomery. But Saquon Barkley has 1 year left on his deal. Obviously, it doesn't look like New York wants to keep him. At least they're not committed to keeping him. If he's going to play 1 year somewhere else, and New York looks like they could use the draft capital, why not Detroit? Why not? I mean, you just lost your bell cow. And don't get me wrong, I get we have Jahmyr Gibbs. Mm-hmm. And I have faith Jahmyr Gibbs can give you something the same way I had faith that Jameson Williams can give you something. But I think
Zonovan Knight on the IR.
Zonovan Knight on the IR.
Yeah.
Craig Reynolds, respectable, but is he the caliber of a Dave Montgomery? No. I'll be real. And Craig is a homie too. When we saw him in the tunnel, he said, Woodward, heavyweights.
Yeah.
But they need something because I think this team is best served with the run game. Jared Goff is best served with the run game. Did he go out there and ball yesterday? He absolutely did. But when he's throwing that ball over 30 times a game, his record's 7-16. It's not the prettiest. Mm-hmm. We need some people. Specifically a running back. I think Saquon Barkley could be that answer. I know it sounds crazy, man.
It does sound pretty crazy.
But does it not make sense?
I don't know. That does sound pretty crazy. Hopefully Jahmyr Gibbs will be back. I expect him to be back for the Baltimore game. We need him to be back for the Baltimore game. I don't know about Saquon. I don't know if that's a realistic possibility. We'll see what the Giants are doing there. But what would it cost to get Saquon? What are you looking to do? Are you just looking to use him as a rental for the rest of this year?
Yes.
What are you trying to do with him? Because I don't know if the price would be enough, just for two-thirds of a year of Saquon Barkley.
So you mentioned the word third, and I look at I think that could be the value. Just because it's not like he's locked up to any long-term contracts. Like the New York Giants won't be able to sell you on that. Like you said, we're only getting him for the back half of the season. I'll offer you a third-round pick. And anyone's bitching about that third-round pick, we have a third-round pick that's been active every single game this year in Broderick Martin. And we have another one, too, in Hendon Hooker, who kind of just been chilling. Now, granted, the Detroit Lions are blessed to have those guys chill, but I'd be willing to sacrifice a third-round pick to go get somebody like Saquon Barkley. Again, how realistic it is, I don't know. But I want to put it in there. I do want to put it in there. I want it to be talked about. Why not get him? Don't let him walk for nothing if you're New York. And if you're Saquon, what are you doing there, bud? You're abusing your body heading into another contract with nothing to show for it. If you're going to get hurt, come do it in a championship effort with the Detroit Lions. That's all I'm saying. Chris?
I mean, it makes some sense, but at the end of the day, when I look at this team, I still feel like if you're making a trade for a running back room, which we've said even before the injuries that, hey, if there is an injury that happens, it does get pretty thin pretty quick. That's where I see the conversation of depth piece, because we've been having that discussion last week on the defensive side of the ball. Do you want a star cornerback, or do you want just a depth piece in case Jerry Jacobs is in a non-favorable matchup, or there's an injury? Like the running back room, I see the same way. I would go for a depth piece, someone that's quality, not the high tier that Saquon Barkley is, because Saquon Barkley, when healthy and when playing at his best, is one of the best backs in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you need quite that because you have Montgomery and Gibbs, who I both think are electric, and they are both definitely capable of being one of the best running back duos in the NFL themselves. You just need a support, a temporary gap to fill the void. Like, that's what you're looking for. I still think if you're going for the big name, you're going for it on the defensive line. You're going for somebody that can help Aiden Hutchinson, that can help Aleem, that can help that line. Because, like we said last week, or earlier this segment, you didn't get much pressure on Tampa Bay, and the defense still played great.
Yeah, and I don't think trading for Saquon Barkley is a realistic option for the Lions. I don't think it's something that's going to happen, and I don't want to dismiss Craig Reynolds and what he did just yet. It's not like he was running up against a terrible defense. Like, the Buccaneers have a good front seven. They have guys that stop the run very well.
15 yards.
You look at guys like Vita Vea. You look at guys like Devin White and Levante David.
They were letting up 4.9 yards per carry before this game.
To who? The Eagles? The best running attack in the NFL?
To the Eagles.
What did David
Saints,
Montgomery do until he got hurt?
The Panthers. They played more than just the Eagles.
Let me check this. Let me check their stats and see what they gave up.
I mean, check them if you want, but I mean, you're sitting here pretending to me like Craig Reynolds is David Montgomery.
I'm not saying he's David Montgomery, but are you saying David Montgomery's done for the season? You should trade for Saquon Barkley. I don't think we're in that much of dire straits.
He's not done for the season.
You're 5-1 right now. You have guys that can fill in. Jahmyr Gibbs is coming back. Craig Reynolds can be serviceable. I'm not saying he's David Montgomery.
When we lost David Montgomery the first time against the Atlanta Falcons, who filled in? It was Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
And Donovan Knight. Both Donovan Knight gone for the season. Jahmyr Gibbs dealing with his hamstring. Although Dan Campbell did say he's looking good this past week. By the way, if you're a fantasy owner, or manager, whatever word you like to use, I would definitely look at investing in Jahmyr Gibbs, buy low right now, because I think he can provide you something. But I'm just bringing it up because if Jahmyr is going to be not David Montgomery, obviously we know David Montgomery is a step ahead of Jahmyr, and for damn sure a step ahead of Craig Reynolds. All due respect to Craig Reynolds, I still want that filled.
So the Saints rushed the ball for under 70 yards against Tampa Bay. The Vikings rushed the ball for under 50 yards against Tampa Bay. Let's see, who do we got here for the Bears?
Two teams are put in passing situations because they're
the
getting their
Bears
ass
rushed
whooped.
the ball for under 100 yards against Tampa Bay. And the Eagles are probably the ones that drove that
yards.
up. Yeah, the Eagles are the one that drove that up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
they
like
had one game where their rush defense got destroyed all year.
Well,
one
look at the other
single
games.
game.
You look at a little bit more balanced outputs on the offensive end because they're trying to win those games. Those teams they beat, teams that are losing. So when you're losing, you're not really running the ball often. We see it every year.
But you don't just give it up automatically. Like they were obviously trying to run the ball in the beginning of the game.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers' run defense hasn't been what it used to be.
They only had one game where they've let up more than 100 yards.
I'm not going to sit here and argue the semantics of that. If you're going to tell me that Craig Reynolds can provide you just as much output as David Montgomery, when Jahmyr Gibbs could even do that for you.
I'm not saying just as much. I'm not saying just as much. But I'm not saying to trade for Saquon Barkley because you're going to miss David Montgomery
for keep running that way.
2-3 weeks. You think he's going to be gone for 7 weeks? You have a 5-1 record. You got a 2.5 game lead over the division. I don't think you need to go trading future assets for Saquon Barkley for the remainder of the year because you're not going to re-sign him.
I think if you want to win a championship, it's something I'd look into for damn sure.
So they're not going to win a championship unless they trade for Saquon Barkley?
It's going to help you win a championship?
Maybe.
It's yes. The answer is yes.
When you get a guy back in David Montgomery, then you have a David Montgomery, Saquon Barkley, and...
That's even better because Saquon was taking tons of abuses and taking that same amount of abuse he was before because of David Montgomery too.
That's a lot of money allocated to the running back position.
I'm sorry, Jahmyr, the freaky ways you want to use him. This isn't like a... To say this is like a...
I just don't think it's realistic.
It's definitely not realistic. It's definitely a pipe dream. But I'm putting it out there. There's been tons of situations that didn't seem realistic when people kind of hating on AG, and I was like, listen, if I can connect the dots, I'm going to put it out there. With Saquon Barkley, I can connect the dots. He's using up his body for nothing right now. New York Giants going to lose him for nothing. Why would you want to upgrade every single position you can at all times possible if you're Brad Holmes, which he has?
Yeah.
And Saquon Barkley is another one of those names. Now, Jahmyr is there. And Jahmyr, we've yet to see what he is going to be able to provide you consistently. And I think he will come out with Dave Montgomery being hurt and show us some things that a lot of people weren't expecting, a lot of people were sleeping on. Don't get me wrong. But if the window's there to grab a Saquon Barkley, I'm grabbing. At least I want them to. At least make the call.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, you make the call, you see what's going on, but I would highly doubt that this happens, and I would highly doubt that Saquon Barkley is brought into this team. If you're looking for a stopgap guy, I think there are better options than trading assets for a Saquon Barkley for the remainder of the year. You can go out and you can sign a James Robinson. You can sign a Leonard Fournette for a couple games when you need to spell
James
without
Robinson's
David Montgomery.
Cooked. And I'm with you. And name-wise, James Robinson fits that mold. But the reality is he was traded for a 7th-round pick, then cut, then picked up by the New York Giants to be a backup, and couldn't even make it as a New York Giants backup. And they just had Saquon Barkley out. He's not what he used to be, quite clearly. I learned that the hard way last year when I wanted DJ Chark bad. I wanted him back so badly, but turned out behind closed doors, a little bit of injury issues going on there. That's what I think it is with James Robinson. And Dave Montgomery will be back. But again,
Saquon Barkley also hasn't been the pinnacle of health in his career.
Has he had this offensive line in front of him?
No. Has James Robinson?
James Robinson's cooked, bro.
Has Leonard Fournette? Leonard Fournette looked pretty good the last time he was in the league. You don't need these guys to be bell cows for the rest of the season. You just need them to spell this team and provide you something until David Montgomery comes back.
Nah, fam, I want a Saquon Barkley.
I want Randy Moss, but I don't think it's going to happen.
He's old and retired. That's not even realistic. I'm playing, but bro,
he's old and what?
I'm for it, all for it. I get you can say it's unrealistic, but to say that it's not a move they should consider or they're not thinking about doing it, out of the cards for me. They should absolutely do it, Chris.
I mean, you're right in that sense of I'm totally disagreeing with going out and making that move, but you're right in that sense because look back at the draft. Who would have thought coming into the draft that Brad Holmes' 2 first-round picks were going to be a running back and a linebacker? Brad Holmes has shown that he is willing to do things that are against the grain or not perceived as the logical move. So you're right in that, and I'm glad that we have a GM that's that smart and creative, and I'm sure he's no doubt making the call. But at the end of the day, I just don't think this is the move. I think if you're building this team out, you're getting a little depth piece for running back, like Spencer said, somebody that can help the team out for a couple weeks. Nothing long term. If you're making long term star investments, big moves, it's got to be on the defense because as good as the defense is, we all acknowledge that can be better because the offense has been spectacular.